Live on the Freedom Hour with Joe Perrone on the Wake Up with Giants Network. I am honored to have one of the founders of the Wake Up with Giants Network and the Tribe of Giants, Nick Smith. Welcome.
What's up, man? It's good to be here.
Oh, so glad to be with you, Nick. And for those of you who don't know Nick or are need a refresher, Nick is an incendiary conversation. He ignites the fire in you, a fire that will not be quenched. This fire will grow in you and carry you to your potential. He brings to the surface the desires, both known and unknown, that you've been sitting on and to now have been unconscious to. Nick places you on his shoulders and stands up. Why? Not because of anything he is, but because of everything you are. Nick shows you the Giants' path. He shows you not for his gain and glory, but for your own. Nick shows you what's possible for you, not so that you can go back to playing small, but so that you fully step into your giantness. Nick shares this, that your dreams become realized, your relationships healed, and your businesses will succeed. You'll be healthier than you ever have been, and finally experience the transformations you've been desiring your entire life. I know that to be true. I see who you are, who you be behind the scenes. For me, for many other people in this tribe, I'm just honored to have this time with you, and have you as a guest on your own network.
Yeah, thank
So,
you, man. That's a hell of an introduction. Thank you. Yeah.
and Nick, I have to ask you. This is the Freedom Hour, and my word is freedom. I love freedom. So I want you to take us away with the first question of what is freedom to Nick Smith?
Yeah. To me, freedom, I used to think it was this complete lack of any responsibility, right? Freedom. But now it's more flexibility. I have flexibility with my time. I have flexibility with my attention that I might be busy, but it's flexible enough that I can go do whatever I choose to do without having to worry about it impacting something else. And so for me, that freedom is flexibility. It's that creation of I can be where I need to be where I choose to be or want to be at my whim, whatever that looks like. If I want to be in Mexico, I'm in Mexico. Right? If I want to travel the world, I'm traveling the world. So a lot of that flexibility is tied to the creations that I make. Yeah, some of that flexibility is tied to income and other things. So freedom to me isn't like freedom from work. It's working and having the flexibility to do these things. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and it's a perfect answer. It segues me to my next question. For what I know to be true about you, you do experience freedom, and you do have the freedom and the options to do what you want to do, and you've created freedom for a lot of other people. And you were recently, you said Mexico. You're recently in Mexico in Puerto Vallarta, and you went on this amazing journey and kind of went on, just your intuition and let it go where it was going to go. For the people listening and the people that say freedom, I'm stuck in a 9 to 5. I'm stuck in this world that is of my own creation, but I'm here. I'm stuck, and they can't see the way out of freedom, and they can't see the way out of just booking a trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and just going where it would lead.
Yeah.
Where does that come from, Nick? What have you seen, and what have you done to take it from being in that position yourself at one point to where you are now? Take us through that journey.
Yeah, I'm still in that in a degree. So I'll be clear about I have a career. I work a 9 to 5, but I created it. And here's the difference. I used to take things that were handed to me and I would just take it as it was. They would hand me this nice shiny package and say, this is what you get. And you got to take it exactly like it is. And what I learned to do is recreate that because I went in and created my position. I created time and flexibility. I work a four-day week. So I have my weekends off. I haven't had weekends off in 10 years. So I went in and created the position, created the vision for my position, created how I interact inside of that position while I'm there. And it allows me the flexibility to be here today on a Wednesday and do giant things. So my entire Wednesday is devoted to giants. And so I created that. I have 2 days on, Wednesday break, 2 days on, weekend break, and I'm with my kids. But it was a creation. And I think we've gotten into this mode of thinking that whatever's handed to us is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it. You can't be flexible with it. You can't create with it. You just take it. And I think I grew up with that mindset of just taking whatever comes. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit, right? Have you heard that with your kids? You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Well, I'm throwing a fit. I'm going to create it. And I don't think people see that as an option. Create your position. Be an entrepreneur within a company. That's the value I see there.
And you've done it, and you're teaching others to do that. And for somebody to sit there and think, well, I couldn't talk to my employer. I couldn't do that. That's Nick. Nick's a giant. And I couldn't do something like that. At some point, you had accepted that packaging, and you came to the realization that you could recreate, you could have freedom, you could have options. Tell me about the conversation where you went from a package of here's your 9 to 5, here's your schedule, to getting that first day off. What conversation had to have? What had to happen within Nick?
Nick had to break. Nick had to break. I was working at an RV company locally. They're huge, big company, $1 billion company, 13 stores nationwide, doing 200 units a month. And I'm working full time. I'm trying to build the giants and the smalls in my gaps. They keep demanding more and more and more and wanting my attention, and kept adding meetings to meetings to meetings. I became a cog in the wheel. The numbers were never enough. It was always this demand of more at the cost of my health, my family, my time. And I was in a Saturday sales meeting, and I'm sitting there listening to the new manager who's doing his acceptance speech. And I throw up my hands and I say, I can't do this anymore. I said, I think I'm out. And I put my stuff down and I said, I'm completely uninspired by all of this. I'm going to go ahead and go. And I walked out the door, and I didn't have anything to land in, no job, nothing. I just walked out the door. I was done. I couldn't do it. And so I walked out the door, and I didn't have a job to fall into. I had some money saved up, but it was a bold and a scary move to really step out from something that's not in alignment with me anymore. It was at one point, but it got to the point where it no longer aligned. And to really step into that was a scary step. It was a big, bold move. In some ways, people would call it a stupid move because I didn't have a net to fall into or to dive into, no parachute. And I went home and I did what I teach people to do. I started creating my vision. I started with my vision, my new job. I have it written down. I have it documented of what I created as my vision. I shared that here on Facebook. And I created this vision before I even knew where I was going to go of my next position, because I knew I wanted to work for somebody to create that stability and that income while I grow everything. And created that vision. And a company reached out about 3 weeks in and said, hey, saw your resume, want to have a conversation with you. And I went into that company and they didn't have my position. So I created my vision of my position completely in detail. I had it drawn out. If this is what it looks like, this is what I'm going to do for the companies, the value I create. And they bought me not because of my resume, because I had a good resume, but they bought me because of that vision. They bought into my vision with their vision, and they hired me on, and they gave me the flexibility to create my position. And it was all a creation. It wasn't, I hope I land in something. I hope somebody gives me something. I hope somebody rescues me from this, because I really put myself in a position where in my mind, I might want to be rescued. And I really just stepped into the creation of it. I'm in that position now, and now I'm working on creating something else in addition to that, because I have commitments that I want to keep income coming in for my family, my ex, my alimony, child support, things that I have a responsibility to. So I've created my life in such a way that I work and I create, and I do them both, and they work side by side, and they don't take away from one another, but it is a creation.
And as you created this position and this company found you by virtue of creating what you created, you attracted them. You attracted your ideal position at that point in your life. So
Yeah.
now, now flash forward, you're an integral member of the company. You do well by them. You did everything that you committed to do for them.
Yeah.
As an employer, if you're listening to this and you're an employer and you have people that you are empowering, you're a leader in a company, and you want more people like Nick Smith. You want people to create, to go out and envision what their path is for your company. What were the successes? What were the big wins that came out of that from the company?
Yeah. So income, financial income. So I was a finance manager at my previous position. So I went into this new company, set up all their banking, set up warranty companies, set up systems, processes, flow, emails, templates. The company gained all these things they didn't have. Small company, real small company, went from selling about 10 units, 5 to 10 units a month to just over 20 to 30 units a month. Finance profit on the back end went up 25-30% gross profit on the back end on each unit, about $3,500 of profit per unit that they didn't have before. And so you add that up, it's a lot of value that was created for the company that wasn't there before. So not only was I making these promises around my vision, I was able to fulfill on it. I had the capacity to fulfill on it. So I wasn't stepping out of integrity with my commitments with this company. And also they knew going in about my creations, the giants and the smalls and the book and speaking. And we created flexibility. That's why I say flexibility around that. If I needed to go speak or train, I could do that without question. I could go and speak and train and have the time to do that. I could have my Wednesdays. I could have my weekends with my kids. But it was all this creation with an understanding in advance of what's at play with Nick Smith. Who's this guy that you're bringing in, and who is he in front of you, and who is he behind the scenes, so that we're clear. And what it does, it creates a relief inside of me that I don't have to worry about what I'm doing over here with the giants and the smalls while I'm working. The employer's clear. He understands. He knows it's there. I have the book displayed in my office. It creates conversations with my clients. They ask about it. They see my master's degree. They say, "Hey, tell me about that. Tell me about your book." I've met some really incredible and powerful people through that position in that seat because of the dialogue and the conversation. So I haven't had to give up my dream. It's been an and world for me.
I love that. And you said the big V word, the value that the company was provided by you committing to creating what you had envisioned for this company. I mean, your role as it, and you did it, and you created value for them.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about, I'm thinking, okay, Nick, I'm buying into this. I'm going to create my position. I'm going to get out of my company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What I heard you say was you wrote down all these things that you were good at: systems, email template, these things that you were really, really good at.
Yep.
Did you make a list? How did you know these things that lit you up? How did you identify those things so that when you put this whole package together and
Yeah.
delivered it, you knew that you would be in lockstep with your values, what you were good at doing,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that was going to be it, man. You weren't going to be in drudgery doing something you hated.
Yeah. Evidence, right? Evidence for it. And I have a program. Anybody that wants this can message me, and I'll email you and start you on this program. I wrote a 200-page sales book on the entire process of how I sell. So I can hand them a sales book and say, here's some evidence. I created a calculator for finance managers that goes through and filters all the banks in their rate sheets and tells them which bank is going to pay them the most, depending on the credit score, the value of the unit, all these things. I created that. So I had this tangible thing calculator that I could take in, has all the sales tax for every city in the United States, all created. And I would take that in and show them that. I have that. So it's evidence that not only can I do what I'm saying, I have evidence to show you that I can do what I say I'm going to do. So the capacity was there, but I was documenting as I go that I create this value. I create this value. I think what we have a tendency to do is look at a resume and try and compare two people by their resume. And we think there's really not that much difference between them. So if we're comparing apples to apples, I'm just going to pay a little more or a little less than what the market says because of this. I went in and created a position that was 2 to 3 times more than anybody in that business as far as income goes. And I didn't use my resume to do it. I created a vision with the owner of the company. I created this vision, and then that vision became the basis for negotiation, not the resume. Because if I go put my resume up there, it's no different from any other person's resume. And then I show the evidence of why I can do what I say I'm going to do for this company. So if somebody wants this kit, this 200-page sales book and 60 days of daily sales tips that show you why psychologically you should buy something and what sales tactics people use, I have that. I don't use it now because it's all internal, but I have that available to people. I can train people. I could teach you how to do that. So it's not that I'm just talking the talk. I can show you evidence that I can walk this talk. I'm showing you evidence that I can create this vision that I'm telling you about. I'm showing you that I have the capacity to create this, and I'll stay in integrity with my other creations. So I can also build my giants and smalls and do this for you. It's not either or. And I think we get into that mode of it's got to be one or the other. I can't have a career and create my vision. I can't work full time for somebody and do my dream. We give up on our dreams. I did that for a while. For about 6 years, I gave up on my dream and went back to school, and I put everything on hold. I didn't have to do that. So I would just, really invite people, start documenting what you create as a value, because it's the value that people pay for.
I love it, Nick. And listeners, this is a gold mine that Nick has laid forth for you. And take him up on this manual, take him up on these sales tips, because this is how you will get freedom if you're in that 9 to 5. This is how you will find the right people that will be integral to your company. This is what you'll be looking for. But Nick, I want to pull out of that and thank you, man, for that, because that's a blessing to many people. You have a giant dream.
Yeah.
And it revolves around this amazing book that you created, Giants and the Smalls, and the forthcoming Pixar movie.
Yeah.
There's a giant dream, and we're in the tribe of giants. Can you tell me more about what this journey has been like, from creating the book to the big dream of the movie? You've taken a lot of massive action recently, and
Yeah.
Following your same playbook that you did with transitioning your career. So can you tell us more about some of the action that you've been taking behind the scenes here?
Yeah. People don't see the behind the scenes, right? They get to see the Facebook version of it. But it was a commitment going way back. This is 2009 that this seeded. This became an idea, and it became a creation. And just walking through that journey, am I good to spend a little time on that? This is a bit of a journey.
It's a gold mine.
So coming out of 2008, I was a real estate broker, and my business failed. I was involved with investors. Everything was really messy. It was messy. I was having to clean up stuff I didn't want to clean up, being in businesses and investments I shouldn't have been involved in, and having to go and clean that up with investors and SEC and all kinds of things. Feeling really low. My home was foreclosed on. I was bankrupt. I was getting food at a food bank. And all this while wanting to be a public speaker, of course. Going through the hardest part of my life, I had a coach, and it inspired me to do something like that. I went through impact trainings, which is like landmark trainings. And it inspired and instilled something in me that didn't go out. It was a flame that couldn't go out. I knew that's where I belonged. And so when I left real estate, I decided I'm going to be a speaker and a coach. The problem was I wasn't making any money doing it. I was broke. And my wife at the time was feeling it. She was frustrated. And I talked to a friend of mine, Julie Blake, and she said, "You got to talk to this guy, Steve Hardison." So I said, "I'll do that." I didn't know who he was. He called me when I was in the parking lot of a food bank. I was getting ready to walk in to get groceries. And in Utah, it's called a welfare center. And so I was going in to get groceries, and he calls, and I pick up the phone, and we talk for about an hour. And this guy listens in a way that you can't imagine unless you've had a dialogue with Steve Hardison. You don't get it unless you've had a conversation with him. I asked him a question. I said, "Can you?" And before I could finish my question, he says, "Yes." I said, "How can you say yes if you don't know what I'm going to ask?" And he said, "There's nothing you can ask that's bigger than me. I can do anything." The question is, will I? And that became a foundation for what followed, because my life didn't change drastically. I ended up going to work for my brother. I was driving up to Park City every day. It was about a 45-minute commute in each direction. I'm listening to audiobooks like you wouldn't believe. About 80 books a year is what I was putting into my system. And I was listening to Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, feeling incredibly small, thinking about that giant conversation with Steve Hardison. And I thought to myself, I could write a book like this, like Spencer Johnson's Who Moved My Cheese. I could write a book like that. So I did. I started recording it on this recorder. As I would drive to work, I would record this story of the giants and the smalls. How do you go from feeling small like I was to being a giant in your life? And I would record it, and then I would go home and transcribe it, put it on paper on a Word doc, and I'd share it with my kids. And then they started saying things like, I'm a giant. I don't want to be a small. They would do something scary and they'd say, I'll do what a giant does. I'm going to step into this. And they'd start acting on it. And I started to shift too. And then I started sharing that story with other people. And they said, this is powerful. There's no pictures yet, none of that, just the story. And I thought, I'm going to turn this into a full book. And in 2011, I did a Kickstarter. I found my artist. He was out of Argentina, just an incredible artist, the one you see today. And I decided I would do a Kickstarter. And in 2011, I ran that. $10,000 was my goal. I raised $800. And with Kickstarter, if you don't hit your goal, you don't get any money. And so I thought I failed. I put it on hold. I couldn't afford my artist. I just, my wife was getting frustrated with me. She said, you got to do something. If things don't change, our relationship's going to change. And it gets me. Yeah, it gets me emotional because I had a commitment to her, and so I went back to school. I got a job. I thought if I can make $3-4 grand a year doing sales or something, that'll help. And so I went and got a job doing car sales and went back to school, kept my agreement with her for the next 6 years. I went back to school. I put the book aside. I put coaching aside. I just went back to work. But I kept studying something that I wanted to study. I got my master's degree in industrial psychology. I'm working full-time, graduated with honors, 3.96 GPA while working full-time. And it turned out that I was pretty damn good at sales because I didn't make $4 grand a year or a month. I made $100 grand a year. And I haven't made less than that in 10 years. And so it turned out that I'm pretty damn good at sales, which became the foundation of, hey, I know how to write. Why don't I write about my process? So I wrote and documented my process, which became the foundation of the book, the 200-page sales book of This Is How I Do It. I got listed in an article on Top Sales Magazine. And these little wins along the way kept me going. I can do this. It was a lot of hard work. There was no easy road here. In 2018, our marriage got rocky. It got rough. There were some things that happened and our marriage started to crumble and it wasn't coming back. And I needed something to keep me moving forward. So I picked up and started paying the illustrator out of my pocket, one image a month. It took me a year to pay for all 13 illustrations. And at the end of that, I was getting ready to publish. In 2019, she and I separated in April. It was about 3 years ago today. And in October, after we got divorced, I was getting ready to publish this book. It became my purpose. It became my focus to keep me here, keep me kind of attached to the world in a way, because it became really hard after that. And in October, I think it was actually November of 2019, I met Rick Evans. I was going to promote my calculator that I had created for finance. And met Richard Paul Evans, who's a New York Times bestseller, 40 million copies sold. He's doing an event. And I took the money that I was going to put into my book and put it into his program instead. And that was the best move that I could have ever done. It wasn't by accident that this man was sitting there. So you talk about the magic of it. I'm going to a meeting that is completely opposite of anything to do with books. I'm not even looking at the book to promote it in that meeting. And he happens to be there and everything pivots. And Ryan Morris, my business partner, and I, we look at this and we say, let's go for it. And so we paid Rick Evans and went through this 3-day event. And that became the foundation for what this is today, the book. And he did a write-up on the back of it. And he said, you've got to build a platform. He said, without a platform, there's no book. Who cares what you wrote? His big thing was he knows how to market and build a platform. So we pivoted. Instead of pushing the book and trying to promote and market that and make it a big deal, we started turning towards serving a community and building a community. And it was ridiculous. Like when we started the Tribe of Giants, it was meme wars and funny stuff and just us getting on there and bantering back and forth. And Wake Up with Giants TV was whatever we felt like talking about. It was the worst videos you could ever see. They were terribly done, but they became foundational for what followed. We learned to get better at our videos. We found better technology. It evolved into what it is today. Now it's a network. Now we have community. We have almost 500 videos on there. Geez, man, that's a lot. You think about all of it that went into it. We're talking 13 years of creation, and people want this overnight stuff. They don't want to do that repeated work. We named our company Mandelbrot after the mathematician because his equation says that when you do simple things repeated, they create complexity. And so we named it after him because we've been taking small steps the entire time. I was taking small steps, met Ryan Morris. We started taking small steps together. That became a community of 4,200 members globally, and the Tribe of Giants became a network where we have a reach of over, I think we're close to 100,000 people globally. And speaking on stage now in September with Les Brown, Kevin Sorbo. I mean, things that you couldn't have even imagined back in the day where I was feeling so small, and here I'm stepping into this journey, but I'm doing what every person watching this is going to do. Like I'm out there taking small steps every day. I wake up in the morning and I say, I don't know what I'm going to do. And here's my formula now. One thing in growth, one thing in maintenance, one thing in pruning, and one thing in giving back. If I can do one thing in each of those categories, I'm successful. And so every morning I re-engage with one thing I can do today to create, one thing I can do to maintain relationships, one thing I can do to get rid of, and one thing I can do to give back. And so it's small steps, Joe. If I look back at it, there were no grand steps or giant moves or quantum leaps. It was all small steps over time, compounded, became the complexity that it is today. And we're not even close to our vision. We're not even close to it. And I don't know how we're going to do that. I just keep stepping. Does that help?
It helps. And I know that it's helping a lot of people that are listening. And it is the small steps. It is Og Mandino said, by the yard, it's hard. By inch, it's a cinch. And I remember hearing Les Brown say that. And for my own personal development journey, I so connect with that because it is the small steps. It is the action. It is taking that call with Steve Hardison. It is going to the illustrator and saying, okay, man, I want to move this in the right direction. I'm gonna pay you for one illustration a month until this is done. You said it. Most people want that big win. They just want to have that big win dropped in on them. But we both know, we've had many of conversations about this. It's about action. It's about commitment. It's about commitment to the big dream, and not knowing where it's going, but knowing the destination. I believe in, and I know you believe this. That's the fun. That's the excitement. That's what we wake up in the morning for.
Yeah.
And, I just get excited for you. I get excited for what you're creating and how you've been able to create it, because the story is so amazing. And I felt like that had to be pulled out for so many people to hear, because they need that. They don't know if that small little step and that small little thing they're doing today matters. But what you're telling me, Nick, is it does matter.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an evolution. I look at 2020. So we launched our Kickstarter on 2020. It was March 17th was the date that we were going to go live. We had a live event planned. We were going to do catering and all this stuff. And COVID hit, and they shut down the economy globally. Like there was no meeting up anywhere. We launched anyway. A lot of people pulled back. I knew a lot of people that were getting ready to launch their Kickstarters, and they pulled back. They said, we'll wait and see what happens. in my book, The Art of Accomplishment, I talk about salmonic action, and it's something I made up. It's just that salmon in the roughest of water can hold perfectly still. They don't have to move their fin. They just hold still and the water goes around them. They create a vortex. And then at the moment of opportunity, they move forward, not backward. They don't float downstream because dead fish can float downstream. But instead of floating downstream with the chaos, they go forward. And so we became salmonic with that creation of the Kickstarter. We said, let's go forward and let this all play out. So while the world was falling apart around us and everybody was going downstream with the chaos, we held firm. And our Kickstarter didn't go very well. For the first 3 weeks, it flatlined. We didn't, I say it's like an albatross. It took off like an albatross, just really floppy jalopy, and it's just not getting off the ground. We talked to a friend of ours, Jay Molesky, who runs a distribution company, and he was doing a training, and it was a $15 training. And it was the most valuable training I think I've ever been to. And we asked him the question, and this guy's an atheist, right? We asked him, hey, what do you think we should do? We got a week left and we're not at our goal. I mean, we're 4 or 5 grand away. And he said, pray. If I were you, I'd pray. And this is from an atheist. And he said, well, since I'm an atheist, here's what I would do. He said, I would contact everybody I know and ask them personally to commit to your Kickstarter. So we did that and we reached our goal. It launched at the end. It went through the roof. We hit our goal. We printed our first 2,500 copies. And then we just started getting those out to the world. It was like there was no way for us to hit that goal, but we kept with it. And we fought right till the end. We determined that we were going to push every step of the way, even through the end of that goal. Even if we didn't get it, we would be okay. But we were going to push, and we reached our goal. And then we did a second Kickstarter down the road, and that one was a success. It was a little easier. But same thing. It took effort. It took work. And we've had changes. We've had business partners come and business partners go. We had the League of Giants come about and completely dissolve. You know, it started with Ryan and I, and now it's back to Ryan and I, and we still have people that are a part of it, but not directly. And it's like you go through these ups and downs, these wins and these losses, and it's a commitment every day to keep stepping anyway. Because I've had some days after a loss of a business partner or a friend, and you just feel this really down energy. And it has you step back and look at what you're doing. It has you step and reflect on your actions and your thoughts and your way of being. And it causes adjustment if you're willing to do it. Some people are like, well, that's their problem. Not me, man. I'm in there going, okay, what did I do to create that? How can I change this? What could be different? Other people don't want to do that. They don't want to look at themselves as part of that creation, part of that falling apart. But these ups and downs, I'm a part of all of it. I create the ups, I create the downs. How did I create the downs? How can I shift that and transform that so that doesn't happen again in the future? How can I honor somebody in their own creations? Because I've had people that come in and they, after a while with us, they want to go do their own creation. How do I honor them in that and love them exactly where they are in that? Because that's beautiful for them. A lot of employers, this is where I think they get the hang up, is they want everybody to have their attention completely focused on them. And if they give it to anyone else or their own dreams, they get mad, they get controlling, they get upset. It's like that bad relationship. But why not celebrate your employees when they're successful? Why not celebrate them when they're doing their own thing and it's taken off? Why not support them in the creation of their visions? Because I can tell you they'll have a lot more loyalty for you if you do that. A lot more loyalty for you. The problem is they don't have loyalty for you because you don't have loyalty for them. You don't care about their dreams. So I see my previous business partners and I want them to succeed. I want them to use our network. I want them to use our technology. I want them to use our equipment, our team, like whatever we can do to support you in your dream. Let's do that. They may or may not take me up on it, but that's there. And how many employers are doing that?
And Nick, you dropped a million gold nuggets, my friend. But one of the major ones that I think will truly help people right after they listen to this, like immediately after they listen to this, is you said, who am I being? When you're going through those ups and downs, Nick, we all go through them. We have our rough days. We have our really good days.
Yeah.
Right? You said way of being. We know that it's about how we're being and who we're being. talk more about who did you have to be when those partners dropped off? Who'd you have to be when that Kickstarter was, looked like it was going to fizzle off, and you had to individually make those outreaches one by one, and had to drop all ego? Who are you being, Nick?
Yeah, let's go back even further. It really started waking me up when I was getting divorced. I had a choice to make. Am I going to be an asshole? Am I going to be the guy that's vindictive to my ex-wife because it didn't go the way I hoped it would go? Am I going to be that guy? I wasn't. I made a decision and a declaration that I would put a marble. I had read an article about a marble in the jar, and I thought, I'm going to do that. Every day I would wake up and I'd make a commitment to my ex-wife. She wasn't involved in it. She didn't know about it, that I would put a marble in her jar, that every day I would do something of service for her, that every day I would do something of service for my kids. My kids didn't like me when I got divorced. They didn't want to be around me. Energetically, it was really heavy. There were things that created that divorce. It didn't happen because I was the nicest guy in the world. It didn't happen because of that. It's because I was being a certain way, and that impacted our relationship. So I made a commitment not to cause additional harm and to clean up what I could clean up. So every day I would do something of service for her. I would give more than I needed to give. I would go above and beyond. Today, she and I have a great relationship. She and I can laugh together. We can have a conversation. I took her to the airport with the kids the other morning, 3:30 in the morning. I got up and took them to the airport, and we chatted along the way, friendly banter. Like, that was a creation. It didn't fall in my lap. It was a commitment and a creation and a declaration that that's who I'm going to be. When the Kickstarter wasn't getting off the ground, it was my commitment and my declaration. I'm going to do what I need to do. I didn't want to do phone calls. That's hard, but I did it because I'm committed to, and I want to stay in integrity with my word. And the way I see integrity is simply the difference between what you say you do and what will show up in the world. It's the gap. It's the delta. And so I wanted to clean up my delta. If my delta was at a 0 and whatever I said never came into the world, I want it to be 100%, that whatever I say is a reality. And so I had to step into a way of being, of doing things that I didn't want to do, stepping into having conversations, stepping into creating, stepping into declaring things that are bigger than me. Pixar animated movie. I mean, if I really look at the reality of that, there's no fucking way I'm getting in with Pixar as a reality. But as a possibility, I'm willing to pursue anything I can to create that anyway. So I ignore what's practical and I go after the vision, and I step where I can step. And if it pivots and it goes with a different company, or we crowdfund this thing, I don't care. I just know it's going to be a movie, and I'm going to step into it. So my way of being is I'm declaring myself before I'm that. I'm telling the world, this is what I'm creating, and I'm calling the shots, kind of like Michael Jordan and Larry Bird in the McDonald's ads years ago, where they call it, off the rafters, into the seat, into the net, nothing but net. It's kind of like that. It's a creation. And so as a way of being is, if I don't have the capacity for these things, then I'm going to create myself into the capacity of these things so that I can do them. And I don't know the steps looking forward any more than anybody else. I just know I'm going to step. I've learned, from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only do that looking backwards. So my position is to just step and trust and let the magic come in, because there's magic that comes in that you can't explain. People you meet with that you can't explain. You're connected. There's room for miracles. There used to not be any room for miracles in my life. It was all control and perfection. A fear-based response that it has to go my way and it has to be this path. And if it doesn't go on that path, then it's a failure. And my life doesn't operate that way anymore. I have the vision and I have where I am. And that's all I have. Everything else is open. It's open. It's like a tree. I'll take whatever path will get me to that creation.
Man, this is helpful for many people, and I know that this question is wanting to be asked, is begging to be asked. As you're calling those things that be not as though they were, as you're visioning this, how has that surrender created ease in the creation of all this? It seems like water, Nick. It just seems like it's like you said, if it flows left, we flow left.
Yeah.
If there's a little right, we go right.
Yeah.
How is that surrender? How has that created this ease?
Okay. So I had a vision of this. I had a thought of it that started right here and ended up there. But like a child, this became its own creation with its own personality and own energy. And it started to tell me, I don't know if this makes sense, what it needed. So no longer was I telling it how to be, it was telling me how it needed to come about. And the more I tried to control this, the worse it would do. If I tried to do it my way, I'm going to impose my ego on this and my control and my perfection on this thing, it shut down. This thing threw a tantrum and said, I'm not doing that. And it pushed me to surrender to what this needed to be. This creation is its own creation. Every creation is its own creation. It will start to tell you what it needs. The tribe of giants was an example of that. We started building it and we started imposing controls and regulation and perfection on it. It's got to look like this. And it started shrinking. It started going the other direction. As we had to step back and really look at it and say, okay, what does the tribe need? And ask it to tell us what it needed. And really pay attention to the intuition and the guidance that it gives, because it'll tell you what it needs. The TV show, the same thing. You try and manipulate it, it starts dying. You try and control something, it starts stifling, it starts dying off. And so surrender is letting go of your way. Like, it's not letting go of the vision. It's rendering over to another. That's what the word means, to render over to another. And so to surrender is to render over to the creation, to the creator, to your higher self. If you're an atheist, then your highest version of yourself, whatever that looks like, is to render over to that path will appear. That your job is to keep stepping and nurturing where that comes and to nourish it, but you don't get to choose the path. You'll find the path as you step. And our problem that I see in our society is that we want to dictate the path. We want to not only call the shot, but we want to dictate exactly how we're going to get there. That's called a goal. Well, goals are steps from one purpose to the next, to the next, to the next, but they're not meant for the bigger vision. The vision is more like a tree to me. You're going to bifurcate, you're going to branch, your leaves are going to fall off, you're going to hibernate, you're going to come back in the spring, you're going to wake up every morning and re-engage with your vision. You're going to go to sleep feeling exhausted like a failure sometimes, and you're going to have to re-engage and recommit the next day. Trees are rough and gnarly. They're broken. They've been through weather and storms, but they produce their own fruit. They weather the storms. They continue to grow. They branch and bifurcate. Visions are like trees. They're not like bows and arrows on a target. Like, they're not smart goals. Like, they're paying attention to the intuition, the energy. That's my vision of it.
And as this book, hold up that book one more time, because we're going to talk to the book for a minute.
Yeah.
You have this tribe of giants. You have this reach. You have people that you've served and you've helped and you've empowered. I'm one of them. I came into this tribe and you said, "Hey Joe, I'd love if you have a show. You should have a show on the network." I'm like, "Right on, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go where the path leads." And here we are. But this book has a voice.
Yeah.
What is it telling the tribe? What's this book telling the tribe that it needs right now to make the movie, to get in the hands of the young people that it's been called to serve?
Yeah.
Get that message out.
Stop waiting. Stop waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. Stop waiting for somebody to come rescue you. Stop waiting for permission to do things. Just start doing them. That creation is saying it's not saying, is yelling it. Like, when you stop waiting for somebody to tell you what to do in your life, you'll start creating some miracles. Just go take the initiative. Like I did with any vision I created. I go to this employer and I say, "Hey, this is my vision for you and your company. This is what I can do and create for you." Do that with this. Come to me and say, "Hey, I've got this vision for this. What do you think? Let's go. Let's do it." You don't need my permission for that. You could actually do it without ever telling me anything. You could say, "Hey, I'm doing this." Great. You don't need my blessing. You don't need my vision for it. You don't need my permission. And I think we wait around for permission. We wait around for the thing to be handed to us and say, "Hey, take all of these steps and go. And then we've got to be commanded and directed in every step. And it's like, why? Why are we waiting for things to happen? I'm doing all I can with my energy and attention, and I'm limited. I have a limited capacity of attention, a limited capacity of time, and it's used up. It is filled. So flexibility would be create more time. So how do I do that? I got to create another creation, another vision, and step into that to create income as I grow this thing. But we all have this time and attention. And if you're going to give the attention to the Tribe of Giants or the book or the movie, just do it. Stop waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. Take the initiative, create the vision, show me the vision, and just run. Just go for it. Create it. If our vision is to impact 100 million lives globally, it's not going to happen by me doing all the work, all the heavy lifting, dragging people along on this journey. I can't drag people to their giantness. I can't stretch you into your giantness. You got to just go for it. You got to step into it. You got to realize nobody's coming to rescue you. It's a creation. That's what I would say. That's what the book would say.
You need these steps. You need this. You need, you have people stepping along with you. It makes the bond unbreakable. It makes that creation that much stronger when you have empowered people, empowering and branching off like the trees that you're talking about, and they weather the storms and they get stronger, and those branches get bigger and they bear more fruit.
Right.
So I love that you're calling the tribe to take that initiative and be bold, be brave, be a giant.
Yeah.
Be a giant. I know you're big with community outreach. Reach out to your communities, reach out to your schools, reach out to the people that need the book. Get that one person in that school that need this book that can impact the next, their community, the next 100 people in their area, because that's how 100 million lives get reached through all of us. And I take responsibility as a member of the tribe to do just that. So
I think as a leader within the organization, if I try and control it, then people will have to ask for permission. They'll come in and not feel like they're sovereign in a way, flexible. And so the more I can let go of my control over here, which I can tell you as a creator, that can be really challenging, is to let go. And the more I can do that, though, the more this can grow. But the more I control it, the more it stifles growth and the more it goes in the other direction. And so what I've been learning with this book is it's teaching me how to let go. It's teaching me how to surrender. It's teaching me that I don't have to do all of it. It's teaching me that it's a collaboration, always a collaboration, that it's going to be a creation that comes from many, not just a few. And that the glory of it, if that were the word for it, is spread out. It doesn't fall on one person. I don't want people looking at Nick or, the giants and think there's anything special that they don't have. I think biblically, it'd be like Christ saying, the things you see me do, you can do. In fact, you can do better than what I can do. Right. So I don't want people to look at me like I'm anything special. I'm not. I'm just like you out there stepping every day, just like you are. I get up and I take a shower. I make my bed. I eat some breakfast, and then I create for my day. I figure out, okay, what am I going to do today? And I don't know fully what my plan is. I just step. And that's what I'm inviting people to do, is do that. Do what a normal human would do. Go out there and step into the uncertainty, the unknown, and create a vision in your own way, whatever that vision is. Small visions, giant visions, they all come together and they create complexity. And I'm feeling ranty. Yeah.
Yeah, rant on. Well, this is brilliant. You gave many actionable steps, and I hope that as people listen to this interview, they'll go back and see their own selves in what you've created, and that way of being. Go out and be the person that will get this book in the hands of the people that need it. Go out and be that person that will support the tribe, that will have another creation that we can all support and get behind, that will get to those 100 million people. I believe it. I see it.
Yeah.
And let's make this thing is a movie. This book is calling out to be a movie.
Yeah.
And what can we do to help out with that, Nick?
So I have the film Bible. I have a video that describes why I want to make this a movie. I have the plot and all of that on the giantsandsmalls.com. And there's a tab at the top that says make this book a movie. Share that. The film Bible gives a vision to the producers and directors of what this could look like. We're thinking of even possibly crowdfunding this. And I have access to animators. My illustrator has access to a production company that can actually make the animation for this. We can do our own movie. If there's a possibility of having Pixar do it, or Disney, or Walden Media, big companies, Paramount, some of the others. The idea there is if they do it or they don't do it, this will be made into a movie. Whether they contract it or I contract it and create it, it's going to be a movie. And it'll be something that families can find. And the purpose for the movie is impact, that families come out of this movie, you see the glow on their face, the popcorn, the smell of the theater, and these kids come out and they say to their parents, they look up. That's the emotion that we're trying to create here, is they look up to mom and dad and they say, I am a giant. And whether they're 4 years old or 74 years old, they have a realization that they're not done breathing, and that there's still more creation in them, and that they have purpose, and that they can actually bring that into the world. Instead of fighting what is, we create it differently. The impact is the mission. The impact is what we're after. I'm not out there to try and fight the systems that are in place. I don't want them to have any of my attention. I want my attention to be in this creation. Why? Because when this grows, that will fade. I don't have to fight that for it to fade. And that's the challenge, is people are so busy fighting off what they don't like. They're not creating anything. They're not creating a fucking thing. They're out there fighting somebody else's creation. And what that does is it feeds that creation and it grows. Whether it's good or negative energy, it doesn't matter. It grows because of the attention, and attention causes things to grow. And my attention doesn't belong there. My attention belongs in this creation. So that's what I've chosen to do. And it doesn't matter if this is your creation and you put your attention to my creation or your own, whatever your attention is on is going to grow. And I think people have lost their attention. They've given it to TikTok and Facebook and all these other things that they're fighting, systems and processes that don't work for us. And they're busy fighting that. So that's captured their attention. So anything they produce isn't going to grow because it's over there. So that's where freedom comes in. That's where flexibility comes in. It's not fighting things, but creating something new. Because if you fought that and you won, you still wouldn't have a creation to replace it. You just have chaos. So the only thing that can replace it is a creation. And so that's where I see it a little different.
Man, Nick, what a powerful hour that we had. This is amazing. I mean, the calls to action, the commitment, the steps have gotten you to this point, and you're not done.
Yeah.
This is only the beginning for you, my friend. And I'm honored. I love you, and I'm honored to be a part of this and in any way, shape, or form. And the tribe is just a great group of people that they are that. They are that.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've attracted a wonderful group of people together, and we all found each other. So this is amazing, and this is freedom. This is freedom for all of us. And you've created this, and we're going to create for you, and we're going to help you. And it keeps going. And this is where our attention belongs, because this is life-changing, world-changing, generation-changing.
Yeah.
And we'll give our next generation, our kids, their families, freedom. So
that's the beauty of it. Yeah. If I could say one final thing around that is we've made it a purpose to keep this as neutral as possible. It is not a religion. It is not a political view. It is not about race or culture. The Giants and the Smalls is about each person's individual journey. I don't care if you're black or white. It doesn't matter. It's a creation. You have the ability as much as I do. I love the diversity of our group. We have people in India, Australia, the UK, Finland, Norway, all over the world, Canada, New Zealand. I mean, everywhere.
South Africa.
Yes, South Africa. And it isn't about anything that exists today as a classification. It's about transcending your own life and your own way of being. It's about stopping the playing small and stepping into your giant potential. And that is not a religion. Don't turn it into a religion. Don't turn it into a way of rules, because that's what we do, is we make rules out of it because it's too simple. Don't put rules on the giants. There's no right or way, wrong way to do it. It's just there are possibilities within it, a way of being. And so that would be my one final statement there is don't politicize this. Don't make it about culture or anything else. Don't make it about religion. It's not that. It's a message about who you are and who you can be, and do that. Step into that.
And it's a powerful way to end the show. Nick, who are you? Sit with that question. And we love you. We love the tribe and everything that's being created here, and just want to support you, man. So
yeah.
Hey, that's our Freedom Hour for this week. Don't forget to subscribe. Wake Up with Giants TV. Go in that tribe. What can you do? How can you be a giant? What can you create, as Nick so eloquently put in our interview today?
That was awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you.